What's up, Sooner Nation, and welcome to another edition of the WhackoPreview Podcast, where we go over all things OU football every Friday, heading into the weekend of matchups ahead. I'm Steve Curtis, the voice behind Wacko Sooners, and we've got so much to talk about today. This may be the most packed episode of the WhackoPreview that we've ever had. First and foremost, we're going to start off talking about some major recruiting updates as this 2026 cycle is coming to a close with early signing day coming up next week. We got some major flips this week that we get to talk about. We're also going to do a brief discussion about the college football playoff rankings, where OU is, how that is going to play out as the regular season comes to a close after this weekend. Then, of course, we're also going to go through a preview of tomorrow's matchup, which is what we all really care about right now. LSU coming to Oklahoma, 2:30 p.m. Central Time tomorrow at Owen Field. And, of course, as always, at the end, we will break down my predictions for every SEC matchup of the weekend. We're going to break it all down right here on Wacko Sooners. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Hit that bell button so you never miss an episode. We are available on YouTube and on Spotify. Plus, you can follow us on all of our socials at Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter X, all at Wacko Sooners, for more live news updates, game highlights, and of course some memes, maybe some funny reels here and there to keep it lighthearted and fun like we like it here in Sooner Nation. So go hit those follows so you're always in the Wacko loop. In the spirit of that, I'd like to say thank you to you guys. We just hit the 100 subscribers mark. We just got our first 100 subscribers earlier this week. So grateful to y'all to come here to Wacko Sooners and hear me yammer on about OU football. We also have condensed game tapes and full game highlights from every OU matchup this season. We were a little behind to start the season, but we're catching up on those. Should have those all out by the end of December. So, recruiting. Got some major flips this week. We got 3 guys coming in starting on Monday. All 3 were flips from other programs. First of all, on Monday, we scored 4-star running back Jonathan Hatton, 6 foot, 195 pounds from Cibolo, Texas. Now, he was originally committed to Oklahoma as a sophomore, so this would have been 2023. And then in March, he flipped to Texas A&M. And then we kept after him, DeMarco Murray, Jim Nagy, that whole front office there. And on Monday, he flipped back to Oklahoma. So major get, great to have him back in that class. He's the number 5 running back in the 2026 cycle. He's a great north-south runner. He's very aggressive. He's decisive. He's not super shifty like Torrey Blaylock can be considered as, given how he likes to make his cuts and such. But Hatton is far more just find the hole, go straight at him. And once he finds that hole and he gets out there, he's got great explosive speed. He's going to run you over. Super strong. And I've been hearing some comparisons to Adrian Peterson, which I'm thinking, dude, if that's what we're getting, hallelujah. Absolutely. Would love to get that. Then back on Wednesday, also flipped Markel Ford, 3-star safety formerly committed to SMU down there in Dallas. He's 6 foot, 185 pounds out of Mesquite, Texas. And thank goodness we flipped a guy from SMU, because they down there in Dallas have been an absolute thorn in Oklahoma's side on the recruiting trail, because a lot of guys at OU come out of the greater DFW area. So great job getting in there and flipping the script and saying to SMU, no, DFW is our land. It's South Oklahoma. Now, while Ford is a 3-star, he doesn't really play like it. He's got great speed, which, of course, you want your DBs to have that. And he does, I will say, get mixed up in man coverage a little bit. But his size and competitiveness, it really helps him kind of get back to it. He's got great quickness as well, so he can, if he overshoots it, he can quickly come back. He's very competitive against his assigned receivers and making it hard for them to go catch the ball, which is something you need. Now, of course, we'll see how that translates as he comes into the SEC. But I don't think that Jim Nagy or Brent Venables, Brandon Hall would be looking at a safety that was 3-star if he was not up to the task, if they didn't think he was. And I know a lot of people are still low on the Nagy recruiting process, not super high on stars and everything or ratings. I don't care if they're rated first in the class. I don't care if they're rated last. What do they translate when they get to Oklahoma? So we'll see how that goes. He's also very good in the box. He's very comfortable in there. It's starting to look like he will end up being groomed for that cheetah position kind of Definitely not like Kendall Daniels, because Kendall Daniels is Kendall Daniels. He's 6'5", almost 250 pounds. Kendall Daniels is just an anomaly when it comes to Cheetah. He was designed for that. But Reggie Powers, another safety, has been getting some play in there at Cheetah as well. And Markel Ford's a little bit more similar to him in build. So we'll see how he does. I'm guessing he'll end up being a Cheetah, but we'll see how that goes when he gets on campus. And then on Thursday, so yesterday, Thanksgiving, Oklahoma has so much to be thankful for because they managed to flip Jayden Petit from Wisconsin, 4-star wide receiver from Naples, Florida, 6'4", 195 pounds. He was a long-time target for OU. Even though he committed to Wisconsin back in late June, Oklahoma stayed on him. Emmett Jones and Jim Nagy and Brett Venables were like, no, we're going to stay on this guy. We're going to do great things this year, and we're going to show him why he needs to come here instead of Wisconsin. And dang it, guys, they did. They really did. Now, granted, we haven't had a massive wideout at receiver just go ham this year and show Petit what he can become, but we have a great quarterback in John Mateer. Yes, I'm still on the John Mateer train and think he's great. And him coming in as a true freshman with his size, his speed, his wingspan, he naturally just wonderfully utilizes that leverage that he already has because he's just so big. He's got great hands as well. In his first 5 games as a senior this fall in 2025, it says that he had 40 receptions for 840 yards and 13 touchdowns. Dang, son. And down there in Florida, they don't joke about high school ball either. I should know. I went to high school in Florida. So, yeah, this was a huge get. He's incredibly agile for a guy his size, a little reminiscent of Nick Anderson to me at least. Now, granted, Nick Anderson ended up not panning out for several reasons, even at LSU. But he's also got to that agility, his change of direction is fantastic. He's got a great burst of speed afterwards. So if he jukes you, you might not be able to catch him because he's going to take off. And, of course, his stride's going to be massive. Really excited to finally bring Jayden Petit back into the fold here. Or not even back into the fold because he wasn't committed to Oklahoma in the first place. But a huge get nonetheless. So glad to add him to this 2026 recruiting class. And while OU is still holding on to one of the top spots in the 2027 cycle for next year's recruits, this 2026 cycle, they're making a big push here at the end. They're going to keep rising in the rankings. Looking forward to seeing how this shapes up next week as early signing day rolls around. That being said, major announcement here. Now with the LSU game coming up tomorrow, this will be our last regular season Wacko preview. Assuming OU beats LSU tomorrow and makes it into the playoffs, we will bring the preview back for each of those respective playoff games. Or maybe there's just one and we'll only have one more. We may have 2. We may go all the way to the national championship. But that being said, since we won't have a Wacko preview next Friday, we are going to bring in a recruiting special where we're going to go over every single recruit in the 2026 cycle, break it down, talk about each of them, their ups, their downs, and comparisons, all that jazz. We're going to have a massive recruiting show, same time as the Wacko preview next Friday in replacement because regular season is coming to a close here very soon. So stay tuned for that. A week from today, massive recruiting update coming in. Or not even recruiting update, just a massive recruiting breakdown. We're going to have massive stuff coming in. Now, that being said, we're going to move on to the college football playoff rankings right now. Oklahoma remains at number 8, same as they were last week, and we will break down the rankings right now, and then we'll kind of talk about it, each team as we go. So number 1, Ohio State, no complaints. They're up there until proven otherwise. Indiana, they're also up there at number 2, 11-0, no complaints here. Or no massive complaints here. Texas A&M at 3. The only complaint I have here, them being 11-0, I personally think that even though they've played the bottom half almost of the SEC, they still have had to go to SEC road environments. And they've won every kind of game. And I've been saying this all season. They've won defensive stalemates like they did against Auburn. They've won shootouts like they did against Arkansas and Notre Dame. they've won massive comebacks like they did against South Carolina 2 weeks ago. And, of course, the LSU stomping, just the absolute massacre they put down. They've won every kind of game under the sun. I think they're one of the more complete football teams in college football. And when one facet of the game is taking a step back for the day, they're not having as good of a day as they have before, the other side's able to pick up. But then the South Carolina game showed you that the defense and the offense had trouble in that first half against South Carolina, and then both stepped up. Now, of course, South Carolina, still not all that great, so that's not a massive thing to hang your hat on, but I think the principle holds pretty true as well. Number 4, Georgia, no complaints. 5, Texas Tech. The Big 12, or teams that are currently in the Big 12, cannot compete with teams that are currently in the SEC and a good chunk of the teams that are currently in the Big 10. And that is simply from a personnel standpoint. You do not have the size, you do not have the strength, you do not have the overall talent in the trenches in the Big 12 that you do in the SEC. Now, I get it. They're 10-1. Odds are 11-1 after this weekend. But I don't get the Texas Tech hype. If you put them up against an Oklahoma defense or a Georgia defense or an Ohio State defense, then we'll talk. I think they should be in the playoffs as, one of the top 2 teams in the Big 12, of course. But I don't think they belong above 8. Then, of course, you've got Oregon at number 6. They moved up. I don't really know how I feel about that. They've got 2 ranked wins. Penn State was ranked at the time, but Penn State has become what Penn State has become. They had a 1-score win against Iowa. And then, of course, they stomped the crap out of USC, although USC led them all over the field wherever they wanted to go. When USC was on offense, Lincoln Riley's offense, as Lincoln Riley's offense does, led Oregon's defense on a merry chase that just couldn't close out drives, and Oregon's offense ended up being better than USC's defense. So I get that one. I will give Oregon credit because USC was ranked and is still ranked. They were 15 last week. They're 17 this week. But I still don't think that Oregon, with 2 ranked wins at the time of competition, deserves to be at number 7, at least above Oklahoma. And now we're getting to Oklahoma, number 8. 5 ranked wins at the time of competition. You got Michigan, tough defense. They're competitive in the Big 10. If they beat Ohio State, they're in the playoffs. Then you've got Auburn, who's kind of crash and burn and is all over the place, but that's an excellent defense there at Auburn. Then you've got Tennessee, a fantastic explosive offense. Alabama, an absolute juggernaut, or what was a juggernaut, of an offense where they just dissect you and they're going to pick you apart, and Ty Simpson's going to see everything before it happens. He didn't see it all happen before. He didn't see it before it happened. He got lit up all night long. He looked like a deer in the headlights by the end of the day. Then, of course, most recent win, Missouri. Bo Pribula, not the guy. Ahmad Hardy, great, but got stuffed. 5 ranked wins, 3 straight, 2 of those 3 on the road. And Oklahoma is perfect in true road games because Red River, while not at home, is not at home for Texas either. It's a neutral site, so that's not really classified as a road game. I don't think that any OU fan or Texas fan would objectively say, yeah, Red River's a road game. No, it's a neutral site. So Oklahoma being 4-0 on the road, 3 of those in SEC play, perfect on the road in SEC play. A 1-score loss to the number 7 team in Ole Miss, and then a loss to Texas, which can be chalked up a lot to the quarterback being injured and missing 3 weeks of practice. That's not me making excuses. That's just saying what I think the committee is making excuses for, or not necessarily making excuses, but giving consideration for that. Because since Mateer's come back, we've seen him progress and get better. Number 9, Notre Dame. They should not be on here at all. We talked about this last Friday in the Mizzou Wacko preview. I don't think Notre Dame belongs anywhere near the playoffs. If they were 12-0, if they'd beaten A&M in Miami, we'd be having a different conversation. They've got 1 ranked win versus USC at the time of competition. And now USC is still ranked, but just got not necessarily blown out, but lost by a sizable margin to Oregon. the schedule overall is abysmal. They've played, what, two teams that are even, no, three teams that are even relevant to the college football playoff discussion, which are Miami, Texas A&M, and then one could make an argument for USC being at least somewhat relevant in the Big Ten. Or not even somewhat relevant. If I'm not mistaken, they are, third? Okay, USC is fifth in the Big Ten. They were third last week. Were they third? I don't know. I don't know exactly what they were last week, but they are fifth in the Big Ten this week. So USC is relevant, Miami's relevant, Texas A&M is relevant. But Purdue, Arkansas, Boise State, North Carolina State, Boston College, Navy, Pitt, Syracuse, and Stanford? No. If you lose to two of those three, if you go 1-2 of those top three teams that you play, I don't think you should be in the playoffs. Now, granted, your record's still 10-2. There's something given for that, but your resume is nothing. Absolutely nothing. Alabama at 10, no complaints. Of course, if you boot Notre Dame out of there, they'd move up. Miami, I think Miami's better than Notre Dame. They've got head-to-head. Sure, they've got two conference losses that were unranked as well. But if your records are 10-2 at the end of the year, head-to-head should be the tiebreaker. Miami has the head-to-head over Notre Dame. Miami's 15th. Pitt is 22. They play tomorrow. Or when is that? Is that today or tomorrow? Let's find out. Let's double check this. Okay, yeah, that is Saturday. Saturday, 11 a.m. Central Time. That would give Miami a ranked win at the end of the year to boost their resume. Notre Dame would not have a ranked win. I think, honestly, if they both win this weekend, I think Miami should jump Notre Dame. And that's sticking with the assumption that the committee is going to keep Notre Dame in it. I think they need to be out, and we'll go through my rankings here in a second. And then, of course, at 12, you have Tulane representing the G5. No major complaints here. Now, as for my rankings, based on all that, the way I'd rearrange it, Texas A&M at 1. We discussed my SEC opinion based on just the SEC top to bottom is deeper and more competitive than the Big Ten, because the Big Ten's top 4 or 5 are pretty dang good, but the rest of it isn't, and Ohio State's had a cakewalk of it. But of course, the Ohio State bias comes in and puts them at 2. Granted, that Texas win is going to look a little bit less awesome after tonight's matchup, actually, Texas A&M at Texas. But Ohio State at 11-0, former national champions. Julian Sain's been doing pretty good. The defense is excellent. They're number 2 until otherwise in my book. Indiana at number 3 as the other 11-0 team. Then Georgia at 4. I've got Ole Miss up at 5. Oregon has not impressed me, as we talked about. Texas Tech has not impressed me at all. Then we've got Georgia at 4, Ole Miss at 5. And I've got Oklahoma at 6. I've got Oklahoma at 6. And again, that is simply resume, dude. Resume. They are 5-1 in ranked matchups this season. Again, at time of competition. Yeah. This defense is elite. This is a top 1, 2, 3 defense in the country. And the offense is doing what it needs to do to protect the ball and help you win football games. Now, when people see low-scoring games like against Mizzou, 17-6, they think, oh, wasn't a great game. Or wasn't a great performance. What's our yardstick for great here, right? It's what are we calling great? Because if the offense doesn't go score, if the offense went and scored 50 points without any help from the defense, they say, great game, great performance. Okay, well, this is a defensive program at Oklahoma. Great day is the offense does what it needs to do to win the game and put some points on the board, and defense stuffs the opponent. That's the yardstick for great at Oklahoma. And as long as they play like that, I'd say this is a solid team. And since they are most likely going to be 10-2 to end the year, with only 2 losses, one of them being to, my number 5 team in the country, and the extenuating circumstances to their one other loss, which is unranked, I'm I'm convinced that Oklahoma should be at 6. Fan hat off again. Pretend I said all that with the fan hat off. Fan hat back on. Alabama, I then have them at 7, 9-2. The FSU loss is hurting them a lot. If they lose to Auburn, they're out, obviously. Then I've got Oregon at 8. I've got them at 8. Again, Big Ten, I'm not impressed. Texas Tech at 9. I know I said I could see them. Well, I said I saw them not above 8. That meant I could have them at 8 or lower. I've got Texas Tech at 9. Again, Big 12. I just don't trust the Big 12 in comparison to these SEC and Big 10 programs ahead of them. Miami at 10. Again, because I think Notre Dame should be out of it. BYU at 11. I think it's going to be BYU and Texas Tech. They're in the conference championship in Jerry World in a couple of weeks. And then, of course, I've got Tulane in at the G5 spot at number 12. No arguments there from me. So that is my CFP breakdown for this week. Now, the fun part, we get to break down the LSU game. Oklahoma is a 10.5 favorite going into the matchup tomorrow at home. And LSU is just a dumpster fire right now. Brian Kelly, he got fired a month ago. Michael Van Buren is in at quarterback over Garrett Nussmeier. After Nussmeier was the only 4,000-yard passer returning to college football after last season. And to see him battle through injury this year and then you bench him for your backup, even though Nuss is capable enough, despite his injuries, just kind of telling him, yeah, you're done. Hang it up. I feel kind of bad for Nuss Bust there, but it is what it is. The program's just in shambles. The defense so far this year has been fairly solid. Not going to lie to you, the DBs are excellent, but the offense is abysmal. They can't run the ball at all. And versus this Oklahoma defense, I think it's going to be fantastic as a defense junkie. And, of course, lest we forget, this last weekend, LSU beat Western Kentucky by a whopping 13-10. What? I'm excited for this matchup. It should be fun. I honestly think Oklahoma's defense has a shot to outscore LSU's offense. And that be it. But we'll break down the offensive weapons that they've got over there in Baton Rouge. First of all, you've got quarterback Michael Van Buren. Since taking over Nussmeier, he's played 2 games. In those 2 games, he's got 327 passing yards. He's 46 for 73. That's a 63% completion, 2 touchdowns and an interception. He's got 7 carries for, 12 yards. So that's about 1.7 yards per carry. No rushing touchdowns, and then he's been sacked 6 times in those 2 games. As for running back, they're limited a little bit. So Caden Durham, their guy coming into the season, he's only had 100 carries for 463 yards and 3 touchdowns. And as of Wednesday, I believe, he was listed as probable. Actually, let's pull up the availability reports here because we're recording this Thursday night. Let's see here. Okay, my computer is having some issues. There we go. Just needed a second to wake up. So let's see. Looking at the availability reports, we've got... Okay. Well, one Mr. Caden Durham is not on the availability report coming in Thursday night. So I would assume he's playing. But we'll see how that goes. And then you've also got Harlem Berry in at running back. He's got 87 carries, 423 yards, 4.9 yards per carry, 2 touchdowns. Those 2 are the only running backs responsible for any touchdowns on the ground in 2025. So that's a total of 5 touchdowns by running backs this season. And they're both under 500 yards. I like Oklahoma's odds. This front 7 is going to kill them. They're going to destroy them, in my opinion. And LSU already being so one-dimensional because they haven't been able to run the ball against anybody, I'm supremely confident that we won't have to, or the boys won't have to work too hard early to stuff the run and then focus on the pass game. And this secondary's gotten so much better over the season. And I think that Michael Van Buren's really, really going to pay for it. Now, that being said, wide receiver, You've got Barian Brown at 49 receptions, 486 yards. He's got 9.9 yards per reception and 1 touchdown. You got Xavier Thomas, 37 receptions, 443 yards, 12 yards per reception, 3 touchdowns. And then Aaron Anderson, he's out. Yep, Aaron Anderson and Nick Anderson. Nick Anderson, former Oklahoma guy that transferred to LSU. They are both out, so they're not a major concern. So you've got 2 wide receivers. They're 2 most productive wide receivers. And after that, you got next to no one behind them. So you've got 2 wide receivers to worry about. Then you've got their tight end, Treydez Green, for 28 receptions, 323 yards, 11.5 yards per reception with 5 touchdowns. And then Oklahoma's favorite player of all time, one Bauer Sharp, with 23 receptions, 235 yards, 10.2 yards per reception, and 2 touchdowns. I just know that the fans are going to have a blast with him coming out onto the field tomorrow. It's going to be great. Looking forward to it, to seeing that. This kid might get lit up. Because remember, he threw that interception to LSU in Baton Rouge last year. That being said, you've got 2 wide receivers you need to worry about, and they're both under 500 yards. And then you've got 2 tight ends to worry about. I think that the secondary is up to the task. I think this defense is going to absolutely just outclass LSU's offense in every way. Now, as for LSU's rushing attack and their rushing defense, just kind of, we know their rushing attack is going to be abysmal, but as for their rushing defense, kind of focusing more to Oklahoma's offense, LSU's rush defense is ranked 31st in the country, allowing 3.7 yards per carry, 121 yards per game, and 14 touchdowns on the season. Now, that being said, with X banged up, both knees are sprained, Torrey Blaylock's shoulders bothering him a little bit, I don't think we're going to see a lot of Torrey and X running the ball. We'll see a little bit here and there. Now, of course, BV did say that Taylor Tatum is healthy and available, and that Jaden Ott is healthy and available. God forbid we see Jaden Ott. I do not want him anywhere near the field. If I had my way, he wouldn't even be involved with the team anymore. But I digress. We'll talk about that here a little bit more as we kind of break down specifically more what's happening in the running back room. Now, as for Oklahoma's rush defense, 3rd in the nation, 2.4 yards per carry, 81.1 yards per game, and 6 rushing touchdowns on the year. Massive. Massive. You'll love to see it. And one of those came from Alabama, and they got help with a weird PI call on Kendall Daniels. So, heck, who knows? And actually, that was off of a PI on a intercepted ball. So, if that's not called, you've got 5 rushing touchdowns on the year. But I digress. Play to the level where the refs don't beat you. And then, of course, Oklahoma's rushing offense, while facing up against LSU's 31st ranked rushing defense, Oklahoma's rushing offense is tied for 99th at 3.8 yards per carry, 128.2 yards per game, and 17 rushing touchdowns. So that's not bad. We've got more touchdowns than they've allowed on the year. We've got more yards per game than they've allowed on the year, and more yards per carry than they've allowed on the year. So I like those odds. We'll see how it goes based on the health situation. Now, of course, as I mentioned, Xavier Robinson, sprained knees, both of them. Torrey Blaylock, shoulders banged up. We probably won't see them very much. Javante Barnes, I know a lot of people have been wondering where Joe Barnes is. Odds are he is gearing up to wear a red shirt for the 2025 season and transfer somewhere else for his 5th year of eligibility, or not necessarily 5th year of eligibility, but just his 5th year. Or I guess, eligibility. His 5th year, show out his final year, and then ideally get a shot to go to the draft and do well. Absolutely. 100% support. Wish nothing but the best for Javante Barnes. He's been a massive team player all his time here. Stuck with it thick and thin. Put his head down, done the work. Great pass blocker. Physical. Love Javante Barnes and his commitment to the University of Oklahoma. You love to see it. So many guys could have transferred out after last year, and he didn't. He stuck around and was a veteran presence and leader in that room. So very appreciative to Javante Barnes and everything he's done for the University of Oklahoma. And if he's decided that he's going to wear a red shirt and transfer out for next season, I wish him the best. And I fully support that decision. Not that he cares what I think. But Sooner Nation loves you, Joe Barnes. We love you, buddy. Now, as I also mentioned earlier, Brent did say that Taylor Tatum and Jaden Ott are available. Taylor Tatum has hardly seen the field this year. He had one carry against South Carolina for minus a yard in garbage time. He was the number one recruit out of the running backs, or the number one running back recruit in the 2024 cycle. He played in 11 of 13 games in 2024 as a true freshman. He fumbled the ball 4 times, though, lost 3 of them. After the Alabama fumble, he didn't touch the field the rest of the season, if I'm not mistaken. We didn't see him the rest of the night against Alabama, and we didn't see him the next week against LSU. Xavier Robinson got all the touches in that one. So, Taylor Tatum, and there's been a lot of stuff with him this year about just commitment to football. Is football his focus? Is he ready to go? Is he getting right mentally? If the ball security is improved, the pass protection is improved, his physicality, his aggression, and he shows up to play up here on Saturday, tomorrow, I would love to see him out there. I think he's got a really bright future if he's able to pull it all together. And if he's not ready, give me Jaren Kanak. All right? Get Jaren Kanak an offensive touchdown. And if that means he's got to rush it, fine. Because kid played every skill position imaginable under the sun when he was in high school, and he was great at it. He's fast, he's strong, he's an absolute crazy man. Put him in at tailback, see what happens. And then, of course, as I mentioned earlier, Jaden Ott, I don't want to see him anywhere. 0 does not belong on the offensive side of the ball on the field this year. Absolutely nowhere. Get him out. Get him out 100%. As for the offensive line, we've unfortunately got some changes. First and foremost, starting center Jake Michaela is listed as doubtful as of Thursday night's availability report, which means that you're probably going to see right guard Fabechi Wewu move over to center. Ryan Foje, who's been playing a lot at right tackle, true freshman, he's going to move into right guard, which is what he played in high school and what we brought him into play anyways. And then you'll see Derek Simmons out there at right tackle, so we won't have any rotation most likely there at right tackle. It'll be Foje at guard, Simmons at tackle. And, of course, the left side should still be the same with true freshman Michael Fasusi there at tackle, and then Eddie Pierre-Louis, redshirt freshman, at left guard. We'll see how that goes. My biggest concern is if Fabechi can consistently snap and he can do the communication part of being the center, communicating, because at right guard, you've just got to communicate from the center to the right tackle. But at center, you've got to communicate to both your guards, make sure that the tackles know what's going on as well. We'll see how it goes. I'm a little bit nervous about that. And to add to it, LSU is tied for 32nd in sacks and 88th in tackles for loss. So while I'm not terrified about tackles for loss, they still can get after you. And this roster at LSU is incredibly talented. So I am a little bit nervous about that defensive front coming after a offensive line with a new starting center. But I don't think we'll have to depend on it too much in the run game, at least to make space. When it comes to pass protection, though, that could be a massive killer because I think we're going to see a lot of pass from Mateer with the running back situation the way it is, and then a lot of QB runs as well. But we'll see how that goes. And in that respect, let's go ahead and talk about quarterback John Mateer. He's looking a little bit closer and closer to the old him every week. It's not massive jumps. Like the change from Ole Miss to Tennessee, astronomical. The change from Tennessee to Alabama, a little bit. Change from Alabama to Missouri, a little bit. I will say against Mizzou, he took more downfield shots. Did he connect on them? No. Some of those could have been argued pass interference on Deion Burks. One of those, he put it out there for Satania, and Satania just couldn't come down with it, and he wasn't getting hung on either. Just put his hand up. He slowed down just a little bit too soon, or jumped too soon. John put it where it needed to be. But I liked seeing that. Keep trying to stretch the field. Keep trying to open it up downfield. Let them know that you can threaten them that way and see what happens. I want to see Jermichael Carter and Giovanni Gibson out on those deep balls, though. All right? Because they're bigger guys. They're going to do a better job at contesting those 50-50 balls. As for his rushing, John had 18 carries for 60 yards last week. He had a big third down conversion. The man can dance. We've talked about how much I love seeing him pull out his dance move. God forbid a white boy get a little bit of motion. Love those Baker Mayfield themed t-shirts after, all the Baker Mayfield memes when he was dancing when they were there at Disney World back in 2014. You'll love to see it out of John and just the similarities to Baker. And that's not pressure. That's not comparisons. That's not saying, ooh, he is the next Baker. Just seeing a lot of similarities there. It's very nostalgic for me, a kid that grew up loving OU football under Baker Mayfield. But overall, John's getting better. He's getting there. He needs to read the field better. He is locking in on a target. He's making a pre-snap read, locking in, and he's not looking around as much. And we saw him do that, those better reads against Michigan and Auburn where he'd scan the field. Need to see more of it, buddy. Need to see more of it. Now, the defense is going to give him plenty of opportunities to go and make something happen. He's got to pay it forward. I need some good, consistent drives here. All right, if the defense gets a big stop, punt, and LSU has to punt, take the load off the defense. Go and give them 5 minutes to rest. Go take a 70-yard drive, consistency, accuracy, patience, and walk away with touchdowns at the end of it. At receiver, you've got Isaiah Satania. He's got 827 yards on the season. Can we somehow get him to 1,000 yards? Can John somehow hang up 3 big passes for him? Maybe 4. To get him another 200 yards, to get him over the 1,000-yard mark. I'd love to see another 1,000-yard receiver at Oklahoma. We haven't had one in a while. I think the last one was Marvin Mims in 2022. Let's actually double-check that. Our boy Marvin Mims, and it helps that he's in Denver, is a Denver Bronco, because I actually grew up a Broncos fan as well. Love seeing that kid around Denver at Mile High. So let's see here. NCAA. Yep, he went over the 1,000-yard mark in 2022, his junior season, with a long of 77. So would love to see another 1,000-yard receiver at Oklahoma. I think that would be great. If John shows up and feeds him a bunch of big plays, like I mentioned, I think it's possible he gets there. As for our other receivers, you've got Jermichael Carter, Giovanni Gibson. Great options at wideout. Giovanni finally got his first touchdown as the Sooner last week. Use them outside for the bigger deep balls that you're putting out there, John. Keep Burks, Deion Burks even. He's had a decent performance this year. He's not shown out in the way that everyone expected or hoped, which is fine. But Deion and Isaiah, they're 5'9" and 5'10". They're not the guys you want running down the sideline to compete with the DBs for those deep balls. So use them on the inside. Use Jaron Kanek kind of midfield to attack that middle, and then use Giovanni and Jermichael down the sidelines and way down the middle as well. Jaron Kanek, since we mentioned him just a second ago about being a middle field threat, give the burger back his first touchdown on offense. Give it to him. Dial something up. Get the burger back his touchdown, for crying out loud. OU's entire fan base has been sitting here all season since the Michigan game, where he just kind of whiffed on that touchdown that he had basically right there on a platter for him. Get him a touchdown, for crying out loud. Goodness gracious. Please, give it to the burger back. And, of course, LSU's pass defense, they are 30th in passing yards allowed. So that'll be a fun matchup to watch. They'll be much easier to deal with than Missouri's, because they were, top 20 in that respect. As for the defense, you've got R. Mason Thomas listed as out, which is unfortunate. But you don't, and when I say we don't need him, I don't mean we don't need him. I mean that the rest of the defensive ends have been able to step up in his place. Taylor Wine has filled that hole that R. Mason Thomas left after pulling his quad. I honestly think Taylor Wine is the defensive MVP for 2025. He burst onto the scene and announced to the world, hey, I'm here. He's playing at an All-American level. He will be edge rusher number 1 in 2026. And then you've got PJ Adebaware with him as well. He's coming along nicely. You've got Danny Okoye behind them. We'll see a lot of Danny next year as well. Then you've also got younger guys, Wyatt Gilmore and Alex Shield Knight behind them. Then you've got 4-star Jake Krell coming in. Actually, no. Depending on who you ask, Jake Krell is a 4-star or a 5-star, depending on who you ask. But Jake Krell is coming in. You've got tons of other good options. Matthew Nelson coming in at edge as well. Your edge room is set. And they've stepped up massively for R. Mason Thomas in his absence the last several weeks. Gentry Williams has been here with BV since the beginning, and man, I think he's done for the year. Again, which breaks my heart for him after his shoulder injury. The other shoulder against South Carolina, he struggled with shoulder injuries his entire career at OU, and it just breaks my heart. My heart goes out to him. Just the dedication, the commitment he's shown to Oklahoma, and he's been really good as well. Just hurts for him. But again, like R. Mason Thomas, you're not missing too much. You're missing the veteran presence, yes, and there might be a few moments where you need that experience. But ultimately, the younger guys have stepped up, and you're not missing a beat. Eli Bowen's been amazing as a sophomore since he came back after his injury stint where he missed probably the first half of the season. And then Cortland Guillory. Oh my gosh. I know on the chart he's still listed as a true freshman. He ain't playing like a true freshman anymore. He's got 11 games of experience under his belt. He's not playing like a true freshman anymore. Note how no one's targeting him like crazy anymore. Missouri did not target him like crazy. Alabama targeted him a couple of times in the first quarter, or also in the first half. And after halftime, they were like, yeah, no, this is not the guy we want to go after. He is scary good. That kid is going to win a Thorpe Award before he graduates. And yeah, he's going to make you pay. Just watch Cortland Guillory versus Auburn in week 4. And then watch him versus Alabama and Missouri in weeks 12 and 13. Kid is on fire. He's showing the world that he is going to be one of the greatest corners in OU history. This kid's fantastic. And I love his attitude. I love his pizzazz. Who says pizzazz anymore? What the heck? I like his flair. There we go. Then, of course, you've got other guys in the secondary at safety, Jaden Hardy, Michael Boganowski, Day Jordan, Man, Robinson, Reggie Powers. Reggie's missing the first half because of that targeting call. Free RP3. Free him. I honestly think with Reggie, we're going to see a situation when he comes out of halftime, like R. Mason Thomas did against Auburn, and just go ham. Okay, I kind of want to see him go so hard that he hits somebody, and the refs call him for targeting, and of course he gets reviewed and it's not targeting. I'd love to see him hit someone so hard, though. Expect Reggie to come out swinging in the second half. So ultimately, the big takeaways here on defense, LSU can't run the ball. The front seven is going to have a field day. I think the secondary is going to do great as well. But this front seven, an important thing to note, they're first in the nation in sacks. They're averaging 3.7 a game. So that's right at 41 sacks. That is 41 sacks on the season, 255 yards off of sacks. And then they're also first in tackles for loss at 110. That's 11 per game, 429 yards off of those TFLs. This is what Brent promised us when he was hired, and it's here. That elite defense is here. Now, for defensive junkies like myself, who love watching great defense more than great offense, I'm going to be losing my mind. I'm going to be licking my chops. I can't wait to watch it. It's going to be great. The wide receivers and the tight ends at LSU, they're not going to have that much of an opportunity to catch the ball because Michael Van Buren's not going to be able to throw it efficiently. The opportunities in the passing game for them are probably going to get cooked. Will they get a couple breaks? Sure. But I think that this front seven is going to put enough pressure on Van Buren, and then the secondary is going to lock down their receivers pretty dang well because they've just gotten so good this year. They've gotten so much better than what they were supposed to be. If it ends up being a shutout where LSU scores nothing, I would not be surprised. Do I pick that? We'll find out here in a minute in our Wacko picks. Then, of course, our 3 keys to victory, like we always do at the end of every preview segment. 3 keys for OU to win. Get after Michael Van Buren, make him uncomfortable, get after that quarterback, create those turnovers or those bad situations for LSU where they end up turning the ball over. And then on the flip side, key number 2, Oklahoma on offense, ball security. Go for no turnovers. You had none against Alabama. You had none against Missouri. Do it again. Because the defense is going to keep you in it. Don't squander their gift. And then key number 3, just consistency on offense. Long drives, that you bookend with points, preferably touchdowns. Because while I love Tate Sandell, I love my Lou Groza Award winner, knock on wood, I need to see some more production from the offense as a whole. Because we have no prayer in the playoffs if we make it, if the offense doesn't cook the way it needs to at the end of the day. All right, moving on. SEC picks of the week. And we need to blow through these here because I told you, it's going to be the most packed episode of the Wacko Preview we've ever had. Just so much has been going on this week, especially with the recruiting. Now, Wacko picks of the week. You've got 3 tomorrow. Ole Miss at Mississippi State. Ole Miss favored by 7.5. Here's the thing. Neither defense is that good. Ole Miss's offense, explosive. Mississippi State's offense, explosive. I'm not worried about these teams being able to score. And I think with the whole thing with Lane Kiffin and the coaching carousel, is he going to Baton Rouge? Is he going to Gainesville? Is he staying in Oxford? I think that his guys might get a little wigged out. And against a really explosive offense, like the kind that Jeff Lebby's been able to cook up down there in Starkville with the Cowbells, and bowl eligibility on the line because Mississippi State is 5-6 right now. I'm going to pick Mississippi State. I'm picking Mississippi State to win this. And my score prediction for this is 34-30. Jeff Lebby, please prove me right. As for Georgia at Georgia Tech, or I think that's actually in Atlanta. Let's double check that. Actually, that might be, in Atlanta, but it might be at Mercedes-Benz Stadium. Let's see. No, it is in fact at Georgia Tech. That's right. They're moving it to Mercedes-Benz in the future. So regardless, Georgia at Georgia Tech. Georgia's favored by 13.5. Here's the thing. Georgia was favored by 17.5 last year, and it went to 8 overtimes. Now, I do think that Georgia in 2025 is better than Georgia in 2024. I also think that Georgia Tech in 2025 is better than Georgia Tech in 2024 because Georgia's 10-1, Georgia Tech's 9-2. I think Georgia Tech does have a shot to win it. I think they do. I really do. However, as much as I would like Georgia to lose this game, because I honestly can't stand Georgia, I am going to pick Georgia Tech to win. Georgia to win. Hold on. That's what you get when one has one name and then the other just has another word after the same first word. When they both start with Georgia, mix-ups will happen. I've got Georgia, UGA Bulldogs, Kirby Smart, and Gunnar Stockton beating the Yellow Jackets 34-23. Texas A&M at Texas. A&M is a 1.5-point favorite. I don't understand why it's this close. Texas' defense is good, but the offense is not going to be able to compete. They're all but a lock for the SEC championship. They are a lock for the playoffs. And like we've talked about every Friday, Texas has had it rough. Narrow escapes with Mississippi State and Kentucky in overtime. Nearly choked to Vanderbilt. I don't trust Texas to get it done. Give me A&M 27-17. Kentucky at Louisville. Louisville is favored 2.5. Kentucky on the verge of bowl eligibility. You never know what's going to happen. What the heck is going on up there? So I've got Louisville to win this one simply because of the home field advantage, 27-17. If it was at Kroger Field, I might feel a little bit different. Moving on to the Palmetto Bowl. No, it's not the Palmetto Bowl. It's more like the underwhelming bowl. Clemson is 6-5. South Carolina is 4-7, and South Carolina is favored by 3.5. South Carolina's defense is not what it was last year. Their offense is not what it was last year. Now, neither is Clemson. But I honestly think that Clemson has more to offer. They've got the better coach in Dabo Swinney. Yes, they're 6-5 this year, but, I mean, heck, we've seen plenty of coaches have rough years here and there. We've seen plenty of it. I don't think that either of them have a ton to fight for. I don't think either of them is going to bring in tons of energy to the field. Now, of course, it is still a rivalry game, and there's a lot to be said for that. But ultimately, I think Clemson is going to walk out with this one 24-20. Next, Vanderbilt at Tennessee. Tennessee's favored 2.5 there in Neyland. This should be an absolute classic. These are both excellent offenses It's Joey Aguilar and the high-flying Volunteers versus Diego Pavia and the scrappy Commodores. I think it'll be a heated offensive battle. I think Vandy's 55th in total defense, 20th in rush, 111th in pass, which does not bode well going up against Tennessee. While Tennessee's defense is 74th total, 42nd in rush, 109th in pass. So honestly, this is just going to be an offensive battle. But I do think that Vandy's aggressive attitude in all things and their defense is going to be the difference maker here. Give me Vandy for a 10-win season. Vandy 38-35 at Neyland. Then Missouri at Arkansas. Mizzou's favored by 2.5. I'm kind of surprised that Missouri's not favored by more. I mean, they do still have Ahmad Hardy. I get it. He had 57 yards last week against Oklahoma, but that's Oklahoma's front seven, one of the best defenses in college football. And I assume Bo Pribula is back as well. Let's actually double check this. Bo Pribula. Where is Mr. Pribula? Yeah, Bo Pribula's in. So I would expect that with your starting quarterback back and your running back, who is the best in the country, Mizzou's going to put up a lot of points. So give me Mizzou 38-20. Yeah, Bobby Petrino and Taylor Green have had a rough time. So Mizzou 38-20. All right, we've only got 3 more to go, guys. We're almost done. Almost got you out of here. I told you it was going to be a packed episode. Then you've got Florida State at Florida. Oh, man, the Sunshine Showdown. This is sad. Florida's favored by 1.5. Florida State's 5-6. Florida is 3-8. It's at the Swamp. Florida's defensive talent is excellent, and Florida and Florida State hate each other so much. And a good friend of mine is a Florida fan, and Buddy cannot stand Florida State. And if the team feels remotely about Florida State the way he does, I've got the Gators winning this one. It's going to be a game of suck, honestly. And I say that with emotion and just like going out to the Gators because I know a lot of Gator fans. I went to high school with a bunch of current Gators. So give me the Gators 31-24. Yeah, it's going to be rough. That'll be a tough one to watch. Then you've got the Iron Bowl. Auburn versus Alabama. You got the Crimson Tide going to Jordan-Hare. They're on the Plains. Bama is favored by 6.5. Auburn has the opportunity here to do the best thing ever and knock Alabama out of the playoffs. And I say that because this Auburn defense is pretty dang good. And the offense, since getting rid of Hugh Freeze and Jackson Arnold, has shown some signs of life. Emphasis on some. Because what? They go toe-to-toe. I mean, they lose to Kentucky, right? But then they go toe-to-toe with Vanderbilt against their pretty solid defense. They put them up against Arkansas. They went toe-to-toe with Missouri. They've lost a lot of close games. Heck, they lost to Georgia by only 10. And some of that could have come off a questionable fumble call, even though it was Jackson Arnold, so fumbles wouldn't surprise me. But I think Auburn does, in fact, have a shot. Do I think they're going to ultimately do it? I'm going to pick it. I've got Auburn winning at home on the Plains, 29-23. Please knock Alabama out. That would be the funniest thing ever. Preventing Alabama from going winning a national championship for the 5th year going, if I'm not mistaken. Please. That would be awesome. I'm counting on that Auburn defense to go get it done. Because we saw how Ty Simpson struggled against Oklahoma's defense. And Auburn's defense is good. It is good. When they put it all together, they're really good. Now the question is, can the Auburn offense go and put stuff up on Alabama? That's the only question here. And then finally, the one that we all care about the most, LSU at Oklahoma. Oklahoma's favored by 10.5. We've already broken it down in depth, as always. I take Oklahoma to win. I take Oklahoma to cover massively. Now, I know that I said I wouldn't be surprised if it became a shutout and LSU didn't score anything. That being said, I'm going to pick Oklahoma to win 24-3. I think LSU is going to get something. Because if I say that they're going to get 0 and they score something, I'm going to look like a massive idiot. And I already am one, but I'd prefer it if the rest of the world doesn't agree with me on that. Well, that wraps up the SEC Wacko Picks of the Week. Now remember, LSU at Oklahoma tomorrow. at Gaylord Family, Oklahoma Memorial Stadium, 2:30 Central Time kick. Kind of surprised that we haven't had a single night game in SEC play at home this year, but it is what it is. Fans, I'm not able to make it this time with Thanksgiving coming out of the tail end of the holiday, but show out in droves. Show out in your massive numbers and be there for the boys as we lock in playoffs, or as we lock in our spot to the playoffs. We need one more. We need one more. This is it. This is our shot to go to the playoffs. This is our shot to show the world that BV is our guy. And I do think he's our guy. I think he's already proved that this year. But getting to the playoffs with this schedule and the deficiencies on offense, Brent Venables is here. The Brent Venables era in Oklahoma has arrived. And I'm very optimistic about what that future brings. Well, Sooner Nation, that's going to wrap it up for this edition of the WhackoPreview Podcast, where we break down all things OU football every Friday going into the weekend of matchups ahead. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe. We just hit our first 100 subscribers this week. Hit that bell button so you're never missing an episode. We're available on YouTube and Spotify. Plus, you can follow us on all of our socials, Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter X, all at Wacko Sooners, for live news updates, game highlights, and, of course, some memes and reels. Keep it lighthearted and fun like we like it here in Sooner Nation. Go hit those follows so you're always in the Wacko loop. This is our last regular season Wacko preview. Depending on the playoffs, we will, if/when we're in the playoffs, we will bring those back for those respective games. But for next Friday, remember, we're going to have the massive recruiting podcast coming up next Friday, 8 a.m. Central Time, same time as our Wacko previews, to go over this 2026 recruiting cycle. We're really excited to break all of that down for you guys. Well, that being said, hope you all had a happy Thanksgiving, and looking forward to seeing our boys take care of business tomorrow. That being said, have a great one, Sooner Nation. Boomer Sooner.